We're honoured here today by the presence of not one but two former Australian Prime Ministers from both sides of the political fence. Reconciliation, if I recall, was a key word in Bob Hawke's political lexicon during his years as Prime Minister, and Malcolm Fraser chaired the Commonwealth Eminent Persons Group, which worked long and hard to end apartheid in South Africa and help secure Mr Mandela's release from jail. Now, I've got enough of a sense of history about me to know that 17 years ago, Mr Fraser and Mr Hawke were sworn political enemies doing battle on the national stage. And it's probably quite a nice touch that here in a practical display of political reconciliation, they're here today united in their commitment to one worthy cause. Please welcome Mr Hawke now to the podium to extend a vote of thanks to our guests of honour on behalf of us all.
Thank you. You're historically right. We were pretty bitter enemies about 17 years ago, Malcolm, but I'm sure you'll be at one with me in everything I say today, because you've come a long way since then, mate. You've become an icon. Ladies and gentlemen, after many years as Prime Minister, I'm often asked questions about that experience. And some of those questions require a considerable amount of thought to give the appropriate answer. But the most frequently asked question is the easiest to answer. And that question is, who is the most impressive person you met as Prime Minister? And the answer, without hesitation, every time, Nelson Mandela. So in expressing my gratitude to ISIS and the Melbourne Press Club for this opportunity of moving a vote of thanks to this great man, I can perhaps briefly explain why I always and so readily give that answer. In speaking recently of an Australian hero, our wartime Prime Minister John Curtin, I said, and I quote myself, I said, in the broad sweep of political history, real greatness in individuals comes to be identified not simply with their intrinsic talents, but with their relationship to history. To be precise, the great person is the one who draws upon but is not beholden to the past, dealing with the challenges of the present, not simply to create tranquility, but to optimise the chances of a better future for his country, and who does so in the certain knowledge that the challenges and the environment of that future will not simply be a replication of past experiences. And ladies and gentlemen, if a man or a woman meets that test, that person will shape history. And Nelson Mandela is indeed such a man. Consider quickly the facts. A man physically robust and intellectually vibrant, who under the most difficult conditions had qualified himself as a lawyer in his country, was incarcerated by the architects of apartheid for 27 years, for a period and in an environment that would have broken or would have poisoned the spirit of a normal human being. At least in February 1990, when apartheid was beginning to crumble under the combined pressure of forces inside South Africa inspired by his fortitude, and with a combination of external financial sanctions, then in February 1990, after those 27 years, Nelson Mandela re-entered the public lists. Inspired himself not by visions of vengeance, but by visions of a democratic, non-racial nation in which blacks would cooperate with the expertise and the capital of whites to meet the enormous challenges of a new South Africa, Nelson Mandela extended a hand of genuine reconciliation. The past, of course, was not to be forgotten, but it was not to be a dead weight on the future. He formalised that philosophy with the establishment of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. My friends, Nelson Mandela is not only a flame of decency and humanity in his own country, in that too often tragic continent of Africa, where the quality has so often been lacking in other of its leaders, he himself is the embodiment of personal integrity. Beyond Africa, he is a beacon of hope to the oppressed everywhere. Now, my friends, I do not intend this brief moment to be used by me for the purpose of domestic political disputation, but I would genuinely suggest to all men and women of goodwill in this country and to the Prime Minister that the life and the philosophy of Nelson Mandela has very much to teach us about the challenge we have in Australia of reconciliation with our Aboriginal Australians. Nelson, you have, through your words here today, demonstrated the correctness of my judgment in always putting you in the pantheon of the truly great figures of the 21st century. And I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to join me in thanking Nelson Mandela for his presence and for his remarks here today, but more than that, for his life of service and of inspiration to the whole of humankind. And ladies and gentlemen, ISIS have asked me, not just on their behalf, but on behalf of all of us, to present this symbol and remembrance for you of what for us has been a truly remarkable occasion, and I hope a warm one for you. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you very much.